Hello and happy Chinese New Year. For Chinese people, the tiger is more than a big cat or the king of the jungle. It is also the third animal in the 12-year cycle of animals known as the Chinese Zodiac. And it is also the animal for 2022, the year of the tiger. So what characteristics of the tiger can we expect this year? How do Chinese people normally celebrate the new year? And what does your Chinese zodiac animal tell you about your own personality? To find out more, I'm joined today by David Moser, Associate Professor at Capital Normal University in Beijing, Joanne Chen, intercultural critic and author, Wang Dan, Chief Economist of Hang Seng Bank China, and Duan Yanling, Board Member of Block-Based Trust. Welcome to Dialogue. I'm Xu Qinduo. Welcome to the show. Every year at around this time, we at Dialogue like to have a special New Year's program to celebrate the holiday. That's our way of celebrating the holiday, which the Chinese people also refer to, of course, Spring Festival. It is the most important holiday for Chinese people and over the world, much like Christmas to many Westerners. So to our Chinese guests, I would like to, of course, and including David, I would like to ask you, how do you see the Chinese Spring Festival and how do you celebrate in a normal situation? Wang Dan, I will start with you.
So the Spring Festival to me is the time of the year when you put family first. For other days, for the whole year, usually we will prioritize the work, friends, boyfriends. But on this day, you have to go home and celebrate it with the parents, with the relatives. And in a normal year, I would go back to my grandma's village, which is Anyang in Henan province. And the way of celebration was quite traditional. We just knock on everybody's door and then eat in everybody's home.
Everybody's home. That's a big thing, right? And also...
Yeah, it was a huge thing.
And Yanling?
It's always good to be back, and physically I've been joining Dialogue and Cultural Express. So usually I do a short appearance as a greeting to my parents through that way, and I go back home, cross the street of CCTV and celebrate family reunion. So Spring Festival for me is a true ritual, a ritual time that really acknowledges something bigger than us. There's a planetary impact, so we're going to talk about all these tigers, and most important, our parents. Remind they are aging, the days are precious, and important to enjoy the time of togetherness. Yeah, that's definitely for me the biggest ritual I always want to celebrate. Obviously, unfortunately, slightly different this year, but in spirit it's the same, yeah.
Mm-hmm. The spirit is the same. So Joanne, how do you celebrate your New Year?
I think every New Year is a time for celebration, for growth, and it's a time for renewal. So I have new aspirations for New Year, that is to create more interesting works that raise consciousness on a global scale. So of course I would love to get together with my families in China or even here in the United States, but circumstances prevented me from doing so. But it is time for action. So the New Year of Tiger is a time for leaping with faith.
Mm-hmm. David, you have been living in China for many years. How do you characterize the Chinese New Year?
Well, the Chinese New Year is very similar to our Christmas. In fact, for those of us who live here, we go through a Christmas time, which is in December, during which we eat too much and drink too much. And then very quickly there's the Chinese New Year, during which time we eat too much and drink too much. so it's kind of a
similarity,
double.
Right?
Yeah, it's very similar. But my Chinese family is in Hebei, and I hope that I can visit them this year. We'll see. That's my hope, because that's it. All the holidays are about family. That's the root of it all, is family.
And of course, for this year, people are talking about, Chinese Zodiac is, as we introduced, the year of the tiger. I wonder, Joanne, is there anything special about the year of tiger? Or how do you introduce the Chinese Zodiac to, say, overseas, audiences?
You know, the history of civilization is a history of the human relationship with heaven and earth. And Zodiac is a perfect, very creative creation that can measure time. And here we have the year of Tiger. Preceding that was a year of Ox, a time that we have the pandemic in the year of the rat. With the year of the ox, we are kind of rebuilding ourselves. But in the year of tiger, it's time for action. It's time that you really be very courageous and full of energy. And it's time for you to take a leap of faith and to really realize your dream. And it's probably for business, and it's probably a time of revival. And for family, it's time of collaboration. So prosperity is very much installed in the year of tiger.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, you know, when people say if you were born in the year of tiger, you were born in the year of ox, or in the year of rat, for example, somehow you have a different personality that's related to the animal over there. Tell us more about that.
Well, you know, I happen to be born in the year of the horse, but also my Western astrology sign is Sagittarius, which is also a kind of a horse. So I've got a lot of hoarseness in me. I don't know what I can do with that. I mean, I'm kind of an old horse, so I'm maybe no longer what they call a qianli ma or something. I can't go far, but I hope to be able to sort of take a rest and just go out to pasture next year.
Well,
you know, be a retired horse.
Yeah. If you say old or horse in the Chinese, you say, you know, they know the truth, probably. Old
That's
horse
true.
know the road.
That's true. That's true.
Yes.
Good. Very good.
Yeah. And Yanling, do you mind sharing with us what's your sign, and does that match your personality?
I think, first of all, I don't mind sharing, but I want to put it, I think that when we have a theory, we always oversimplify it, or we actually also sometimes overcomplicate the truth. So in my very limited pursuit of studying of the Tao and follow the family traditions, and we really see zodiac signs or astrology, astronomy, a part of relationships, and it's not something one-sided to govern. It's absolutely, it's interactions that create that outcome. So yes, there is absolutely the signature and quality and character that's 本性难移. It's very, very destined by the time you were conceived, by the time, place, the space you were born, and the culture and paradigm you lived in, right? We are living in a very special time. But there's also a tremendous importance of free will and adaptations and innovations that allow, and that's made life ultimately mystery, right? So I feel this tiger as one variables for the whole data of one person's life is absolutely inadequate. So I would say I was born tiger, and then we registered ox because I want to go to school earlier. But for that confusion actually create, I think, a mixed character of my personal life, even that little injection of mixed information. So I would say this is a true science, it's a cosmic knowledge, it's sacred knowledge of all our different indigenous culture, including Taoism and Chinese culture. It's absolutely ultra scientific in a holistic sense. But I think for those people, usually we neglect the context of individual sovereignty and your input and your simulation that transform that system. But of course, I do surrender to 本性难移. So I definitely look at a water tiger year as very, very challenging for collective, because they create lots of initiation moments, but also definitely bring out the best and worst out of us, hopefully the best out of us, which is courageous, self-leadership, sovereignty, and really leap of faith, as a lady really mentioned. So I think this interaction, relationship aspect must be strengthened. Then we take I'm tiger, that's why that simplifies our ancestors' sacred knowledge.
Right, right. Speaking of the relationship, one time people would sometimes stress, oh, I was born in the year of tiger, I needed to find a boyfriend, a girlfriend who must be in the year of, I don't know, ox or rat or dog, etc. For fun, sometimes people get serious, right?
Yeah, some of my friends are quite or deadly serious about how they find their partner. And to me, I always find it fascinating to hear their theories because my economist mind doesn't really find it logical, but it's maybe just like how I like to read science fictions. To them, that kind of fantasy world actually makes sense. And it just seems that people find a lot of courage actually and happiness just when associating with a certain type of zodiac, and I find that really adorable.
Mm-hmm. Well, David, so I assume it's the same, as in China, as in the Western astrology. People do pay attention to like, oh, you were born in August, the Leo, Lion. You have the courage, you are brave. So you have this kind of leadership of personality. Oh, you were born in the year of Tiger. Kind of similar. Is that the case?
That's true. It's very similar, in fact. And I think, in some sense, I think the more you pay attention to that sort of thing, and the more you believe in it, in a way, the more it becomes true. because I've noticed that people, if they really think that they're more compatible, for example, with someone who's, let's say, for a Libra, or in the Chinese situation, someone who's a rat or a horse or something, then you tend to feel more kindly toward the other person. You think, oh, we have this connection because we should get along. And the result is you get along because you expect to get along, and so you see the good in the other person. So, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it. Whether you really believe it or not, maybe it helps to sort of see yourself as connected in that way.
The pandemic, people would say somehow has ruined of biggest holidays. Either it's Christmas or other holidays or Spring Festival for a couple of years. So this could be the third year somehow we are affected. And I wonder in what way that will maybe affecting your way of celebrating this Spring Festival, David.
Well, one thing we've gotten very good at is using technical means and social media and apps to communicate. In a strange way, the fact that we couldn't go home and be with my family and my friends, my brothers, my sisters in the past year, actually we spent more time talking than we did in previous years, because we sort of valued the interaction. But we spent our time on Zoom or on one of the apps or on WeChat, and actually exchanged a lot more information and a lot more information about the family and feelings that we had. So interestingly enough, when you sort of miss the holiday and you miss that time with the family, it actually can cause some families, in my case, to spend more time together, but virtually together rather than physically together.
But speak of celebrating the new year, David, it used to be the case, I believe you must remember, like fireworks. That's one of the, probably most prominent feature of the Spring Festival. But for cities like Beijing, there's a complete ban of fireworks. It's a bit controversial. Some people say we are losing our tradition. Others would say, oh, that's good because it's good to the control of the pollution. What do you make of that?
Yes, I have mixed feelings about it because, of course, you have to worry about public safety and you have to worry about pollution, obviously, and you also have to worry about outlay of resources. A lot of people were spending way too much money on fireworks during the holidays. But, it is something that's so traditional about China. Fireworks in China are just linked inseparably in people's minds, and the traditional holidays, going way back as far as we know, the fireworks were associated with holidays and joyous times and openings of businesses and so forth. So it is a loss. It is a cultural loss. And even, as a foreigner, I feel like there's something sad and sort of quiet and empty about Beijing on nights like recently during the lead up to the Chunjie, to the New Year. But you can't have everything. In Chinese, you say 有失有得. You win some, you lose some. And I think that probably in this day and age, firecrackers should be something that we view from afar in the beautiful sky, that experts can take care of that, and we can be spectators. But as far as ordinary people setting off fireworks, that's probably a thing of the past, as it is in most Western countries, by the way.
Well, Joanne, so fireworks should be off limits for the ordinary Heinz?
No.
Okay.
No, I really think we need to understand why do we have fireworks to begin with. Okay, so the Chinese New Year originated because we have this monster called Nian. Monster, to prevent the monster from coming into the village to do disruption, the monster is afraid of red color, that's why we wear red. Also, the monster is very afraid of the sound, so that's why we have fireworks. I think for the New Year festival, to eliminate fireworks altogether, I think is to eliminate the tradition, or at least important part of it. Chinese New Year, we have 2 weeks, from the new moon to the full moon, 15 days. I would suggest first day and last day you have fireworks, not complete ban.
Well,
Agree.
that could be a balance, in complete ban of fireworks and have some of them, right? And you mentioned, interesting, of course, I would ask Yanling, looking afar, you live overseas, we look at the fireworks during the Spring Festival. Do you agree with the complete ban, or do you say, probably we should have a limited, still some fun probably with fireworks?
I personally do not have a very complex feeling about it. I do see like ancient culture about scare away of the Nian and scare away of the monster. I think that's very much from a very agricultural, fear-based mentality. I think we definitely don't need that, but in a agricultural culture, there's also, we need this 热闹, right? We need so much hustle, bustling to feel that's prosperity, because we usually live rather secluded and really 小国寡民, like a really small unit of family. We want that connection, we want that celebration, but we are really living in a real different time. I feel we have enough all these distractions, enough outward apparently fascinations around, definitely not missing that little fireworks sparks, but we probably want more that serenity, that level of a calm, and that level of a deep dive unity. And I don't miss fireworks, that especially my dog and cats really scared of it. So I think the idea of celebration, we definitely need to look at in this new context and balance this two polarity. When we have so much noise, probably the serenity and quietness is what we long for. So I'm not missing that, but unfortunately, I think that is a good memory and for many to remember. But for me, it's just we move on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, one that
for safety.
Yeah, interestingly, it seems like it's a part of the cultural gene. At the same time, of course, for example, China is obviously not an agricultural society anymore. It's industrial country. And so you developed and you probably will lose some and by gaining some. Is that the central way or the neutral way, the middle way to move forward?
Well, to me, I do miss the tradition, like the fireworks. We do need to sacrifice a lot in order to come to where China is now. But for me personally, I miss those smell. When you have the firework, you have the smell. And you associate that with a lot of the good memories with friends, with family. Now during COVID, of course, I understand a lot of things has to be banned, especially when it involves attracting a large crowd. But I do believe it is a way to lift the national spirit. In time like this, solidarity would be a hard thing to find for many countries, not for China. And if there is a way that we can represent that somehow, if not with fireworks, maybe with some other kind of innovation, maybe with drones, something. So I think that's a new way to bring people together.
Interesting, the culture and the modernity. David, obviously, every year, red envelope, that's also part of this Spring Festival. It's also being replaced, kind of, from paper envelope to the real envelope to this electronic. Like you can do it on WeChat, with Taobao, other kinds of ways to basically share with your goodwill or your gift, etc.
Yeah, of course, that's very easy to replace with digital, sorts of means. And the meaning is the same. You're just exchanging a gift, but it's in, money. Actually, I have, being a foreigner, I've always been a sort of averse to the hongbao, to the red envelopes, the giving them to the children, because it seems like, at least from my standpoint, what are these young children going to do with all of this money? They almost get very materialistic. They get, very sort of greedy, and they count their money, and they get obsessed with money. And I sort of don't like the idea of looking at young kids getting all this money and getting a consciousness about money. To me, give them toys, give them candy, give them something they can play with or eat. But the money, the hongbao thing, I think between adults, that's perfect. You exchange the money using WeChat or whatever. But for kids, I think we should give them something that kids can use and love.
Okay. Yanling, so, you have a daughter. Do you think we need some reforms about the hongbao?
Well, yeah, I'm always innovatively thinking about it because I want to differentiate our culture and customs. I think there's so much golden thread in culture as our responsibility to carry on. But some custom truly is like 以讹传讹. It's kind of just became something like mundane and people don't even know why we're doing it. Like I do totally agree why we are giving money for the children to count. Probably at the beginning, it was truly when we have a 2 mao, like a 2 cents, and giving this really child for some candies and they could really enjoy their momentary prosperity as a child and getting what they have always longed for. And that's really coming up from a very different time. And that's also gift signature behind it. It never really mean anything. It was 2 cents or 3 cents for the little childish dream into little polypop or something, but it now expanded to some really, a kid can get a trust fund out of a string festival if they're really following diligently, So I don't think that's something really need to encourage. We need to re-examine how it come from, what is it for, what is now. So I totally agree. I think for our children, this is time to truly coming back to the filial and the xiao, and really come time to think about why we offer those respect and reunion with the ancestors and with the families, with the parents, grandparents. And that's something we always, is a culture, it's not a custom. We lost all the custom about it almost. So there are certain things. So for me, in my family, we see making dumpling as a teamwork and treat it as a process. I bring that into my team building, into the retreat and immersion. So how we spread our culture, what is the essence of those actions, what's behind it? I think that's more important, and innovate from there rather than carry on something we don't even know why and we don't agree on. It's just because we want to be part of some kind of idea. So I think that's the idea of a red envelope. I think we should do green envelope, carbon neutral carbon or whatever. This is idea, just a joke side, but definitely keep the spirit, but innovate the form. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Joanne, so let's introduce a green envelope and tell us, what's the original purpose of having this red envelope, maybe 2 cents, 5 cents for kids to purchase a candy. Okay, that's in the past, but nowadays, obviously, the amount of money, the cash being given is surprising sometimes. It's about 1,000 or even much, much more than that.
I am very much for the red envelope, and it should not be green envelope, because the color red is very symbolic of Chinese culture. As I said earlier, the monster is afraid of red, so it is a sign of auspiciousness. In terms of giving red envelope to the children, and we need to understand what is children and how old that you're still considered to be children. And I think giving a red envelope is an expression. I think it can bring cohesiveness, and we just do not want the children to get a very consistent expectation wanting money from the adult. So I think the giver need to moderate the amount, but I do think it's a good practice. It should remain as red envelope. Earlier you said whether it should be digital or not, or in the future. Well, we should be aware in the future we're moving into an age of singularity or even transhumanism, meaning everything become digital. So therefore, the red envelope may be extinct. So that's why I think certain traditions in our culture need to be kept. The physical red envelope with gold character on it, it is a tradition. I am going to give some red envelope to some younger children, which I don't have. However, I think sometimes you can even expand the red envelope to your doorman or to someone that you care. So I'm very much for it. I'm for to keep the tradition, to keep the fireworks, limited time.
That's interesting.
You know, we have too much control this time, and we need to be aware of it.
Well, one day you are nodding your heads.
Well, I'm all for the red envelope, but I just kind of want people to tone it down. Since I myself do not have children, so whenever I visit my friends now, it's getting very expensive because I can't just give 1 kwai in a red envelope. It's usually like more than 100 kwai. Then after you visit 10 friends, then I think it's just becoming a very costly tradition for me.
But as Joanne said, it's an interesting point, you know, because you give kids this red envelope only once during the Spring Festival. So you are actually, you know, warning them that you don't receive this kind of money on the rest of the days, rest of the year. Is that the case?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I do think the kids find that as a cherished experience and memory, myself included. My fondest memory about my childhood is still on the days when the older people gave me those red envelopes. Not a lot of money, but then I got a sense of getting something and not asking for anything in return. It's a pure expression of their love to me, and I love that.
Lastly, very brief, any New Year, you know, wishes for our audience, for people around the world? I will start with Joanne.
Well, with the new year coming, the year of Tiger, we need to be ready for real action. We have been spending a lot of time healing, planning. Now it's time to leap with faith. Good luck to everyone. Prosperity and success.
And success. Wang Dan?
Well, I wish everyone a healthy new year. For myself, I would love to take up boxing because I love the way that Zhang Weili is playing. So in the new year, hope all of us can pick up some new skills and enjoy it.
New skills. Yanling?
Yeah, we are digitally connected but physically restrained. So in the new year, I wish everyone's living in this true openness and true connectivities and deeply connected. And despite anything's going on and all this controversial and self-conflicting information, openness, and stay calm and centered, to be able to awaiting all the positive things emerge from it, and the yin way, the Tao way. Yeah.
David?
Well, I think in the last few years we've learned that we can do much of our work online, that we don't really need to be in an office. But actually, it's still very difficult to express love online. So I hope that this year that you're able to actually see and touch and hug your family and your loved ones, because touching and feeling the other person is so important, and we've been missing that for the last 2 years.
That's true. Well, on that note, we are ending this edition of Dialogue. Many thanks to our guests. You can also find us on CGTN app or on YouTube. I'm Xu Jinduo. See you next time.